Today we are looking at the Cambridge Music IGCSE past paper from November 2022. This is paper 1-2 and we are looking at section A. In this case, we are definitely looking at a Baroque example, and this question came up in section A2. So it was the second question to be asked in the full paper. Remember that when we complete our listening paper for IGCSE, we have to order it systematically, meaning we have to answer it in order of the questions that they give us. We can't hop, skip and jump between questions because it is a full-on listening paper. The examiner will play the CD for you and it plays right from the start to the end, and you have to answer the questions as the CD plays. In this case, they do give us an extract with music, and it says, you will hear an extract for instruments, look at this skeleton score, and read through questions 5 to 8. So a voice will say these words on the CD, after which there will be a nice pause in which you can read the questions, you can make some notes if you'd like, and then they will say, listen to extract A2, and then you will be able to listen, glean what you must from the listening, and it will be played 4 times systematically, a playing, a break, a playing, a break, a playing, a break, with a final playing and a final break, in which you can answer your questions. Now, section A counts 16 marks in total, and there's a subsection A1, a subsection A2, each counting 8 marks. So this very section, section A2 in this paper, only 8 marks, but do listen carefully because for sure you are able to get your 100% here, you're able to get all your marks, but do be very systematic, very logical and very direct and concise in your answers. So with their questions, they ask us, firstly, suggest a suitable Italian tempo marking, and here we're not asked to give any meaning of any term that we're giving, but just a term. Then what instruments accompany the printed melody? So you will hear the extract of the printed melody. They do tell us that the printed melody is for violin, but which instruments accompany the violin? Then they ask us to name the cadence. And at this point, we only need to identify by listening a perfect cadence, an imperfect cadence, perhaps an interrupted cadence, perhaps a plagal cadence, but most likely it will either be a perfect or an imperfect cadence here. Then they ask, when was this music written? And of course, we are dealing with a Baroque example here. That will not now be the reason why this is Baroque, but they ask us in the next sub-question, give 3 reasons for your answer why this is Baroque, and we're not going to repeat any information that we already gave in this section A2 questioning. So let's hop right in, let's listen to our extract, and we'll take it away from there.
Now listen to music A2 and answer the questions.
There we go, a nice, short, simple and sweet extract. Let's get to answering the questions. So with the first playing, I would suggest just listen fully through. You don't necessarily have to listen to anything in particular unless you want to. But definitely from the second playing onwards, do listen accordingly to what you would like to answer in the questions. For instance, if you're focusing on, a tempo indication. Playing 2, let me listen to the tempo. How can I describe this? By the first playing, you should already have an inclination as to which period this comes from. But say, for instance, you're on playing 3 and you're trying to listen closely as to how you can explain what you're hearing and why what you're hearing would make this extract come from the period that you already think it is, then do so. So each playing focus on something different, that being playing 2, 3 and 4, but definitely the first playing, just listen to it, just relax and settle into the listening. So our first question, of course, suggests an Italian tempo marking. So yeah, it's quite moving. It's definitely not slow, it's definitely quicker paced. So any Italian term there that would describe this fast moving quicker pace would be acceptable. For example, you could say allegro, allegretto. Even presto and vivace may be acceptable. Personally, I would say allegretto, but any Italian tempo marking that Cambridge deems suitable for a faster moving tempo will be acceptable here. So the next question asks of us, what instruments accompany the printed melody? And I think it should be which instruments accompany the printed melody, but okay. So they give in brackets that they expect 2 marks of us, and they will award us 2 marks if we get this right. So just from that logic, I would say we would have to add 2 instruments that accompany the violins here. And of course, the very instrument that stands out there is the harpsichord. And of course, there is a lower string instrument playing there. So I would go ahead and write harpsichord and cello because that is definitely what I'm hearing. But also, according to Baroque performance practice and historically informed performance practice, we might very well be dealing with a viol or a bass viol. So Cambridge will definitely go ahead and accept that. I mean, well done to you if you actually are able to recognize that and write that in. They don't really tell us whether this is a historically informed performance or if this is a performance on modern instruments. But either way, it would be a low string instrument. And if you say your harpsichord, which is your Baroque keyboard instrument here, and your low string instrument, whichever name you happen to call it, you will get your 2 marks there. Our next question, name the cadence in bars 5 to 6. Now they do give us the sheet music for this. So if you're unable to hear it and if you're already past the 4th playing and you really can't tell what it is, do have a look there physically on paper between bars 5 and 6, and you can definitely see that we have an imperfect cadence here, and we will also go ahead and listen to that once more, and we will recognize it as an imperfect cadence. Let's go ahead and listen to the extract once more. Let's look out for that imperfect cadence now.
Music A2, second playing.
And so the extract continues. Our next question asks of us, when was this music written? Now, of course, the title of this video has to do with Baroque music, but that is definitely not the reason why this is Baroque. Sometimes we understand and can recognize a piece from a certain era, but it's hard for us to put it into words why it is so. But we are about to put that down right now. So, of course, in question 6, when we had to write down which instruments accompany our extract, we wrote down harpsichord. So the big thing for Baroque would be those Baroque keyboard instruments, you know, your harpsichord, your spinet, anything like that. But right now we cannot write down the word harpsichord or this is Baroque because I hear a harpsichord in the background. We can't do that because it says do not repeat any information already given in your answers. So because our answer previously in this section already had to do with harpsichord, we cannot repeat that as a reason for why this is a Baroque piece now. So we have to rely on our general knowledge about Baroque music here, as well as listen closely and carefully and hear if you can put what you're hearing together with your general knowledge. And also if you did forget everything about Baroque music, just listen and try to describe what you're hearing. And then logically make it a reason for why this is a Baroque piece. So of course a big thing in Baroque is the basso continuo line. I definitely hear that here. There's also imitative counterpoint as well as terrace dynamics. You know, they have the dynamics going from, well, not really loud to soft or soft to loud, but somewhat soft, somewhat louder than that because Baroque instruments are not able to gradually get from a certain dynamic to another. They also use different articulations and phrasings and other types of musical devices in order to achieve the realization of dynamics in music, but the instruments, because of the sizing and the limited capabilities thereof, technically, they're not able to produce these gradual levels of sound. So terrace dynamics, and I definitely hear that here. Also something big is of course ornamentation, and they do have trills there. I'm hearing other ornaments as well. You don't need to specify exactly which ornaments you're hearing, but just ornaments. So it's quite general what you're about to say here. I know you've studied a lot and you know your Baroque music in and out, hopefully, but here they're just really expecting a nice generalized view of what you know. So do be sure to write those down. Cambridge will also accept some other answers, and if it happens to tie in with Baroque, they will definitely look into it and they will give you your marks if it makes logical sense.